Our concluding remarks will be given by a scholar and a gentleman, member of the board of the ICOR, of the Center, Professor Dov Claude Stoczynski. Do you want me to say anything else about you?
No. I understand completely your reluctance to sit down and keep quiet. You know, when you know that the end of times is coming, you don't know what to think first about the resurrection of the dead or about, before that, the Antichrist. Then I understand fully. Sorry. Let me begin my final remarks by remembering Peter Leonard's quotation of one of Umberto Eco books in his talk on the romances of Alexander the Great. Today, instead of employing Eco opera aperta to claim how much narrative can be endlessly reinterpreted, reinvented, or, if you wish, reconverted, I would evoke Eco's Lector in Fabula to remind that the reader's and the listener's task is to give full meaning to any discourse which otherwise remain incomplete. In my case, however, this incompleteness does not mainly come from the speaker's narrative inherent shortcomings. It rather stems from my own impossibility to attend all the talks of this wonderful conference, feeling simultaneously ashamed, although driven by a sense of insolence or chutzpah. I will not summarize the lectures. Rather, I will share with you a very few general thoughts on the meaning of the title of our meeting, Conversion Then and Now, after listening to most of the lectures. My first focus of attention is around the concept of religion conversion. Everybody sitting here will certainly agree that conversion is a heavily loaded concept, which not only is Paulinian, but also Augustinian, understood as a process of profound spiritual transformation. Instead of throwing this Christian term into the trash of the so-called Western hegemonic imperialism, we still use this concept because it's useful, provided we deconstruct and adapt it to the different religious, cultural, geographical, and historical context, thus avoiding at the same time William James' reductive romanticization of conversion as a phenomenon of merely individual interchange. The task of the historian is precisely to avoid any essentialist reification of the concept of conversion. However, the danger of endorsing an opposed, purely heuristic approach in the name of historical details means the disappearance of religion conversion as a universal category, by diluting it into a myriad of unique cases. Identitarian solipsism and almost Heraclitean exoticism will thus take place of inductive and deductive understanding of conversion. In order to avoid both traps, the research professor of psychology and religion, Luis Rambo, he had to come here, suggested in his Understanding Religious Conversion, Yale 1993, an all-encompassing approach. You see this schematic, yeah? We take into consideration the role of society and power in the conversion process, along with psychological and theological individual quests. Rambo's phenomenological approach uses history only as a means to understand religious conversion. However, history is not employed by him as a priest to understand the conversion process. That means that history turns to be a servant of social science, or seen in another way, Historia ancilla sociologiae. I wonder if such humble auxiliary role is enough to justify a conference like this one. If by then and now we mean the existence of a longue durée basic phenomenon, this conference will show how little historical time is a real factor of profound religious change. Thus, an almost historicist perception could erupt from the very foundations of our historical-oriented meeting, like a disciplinarian fifth column or volcano. In order to find some consolatory relief to such an impasse, an important contribution of the historian to the social sciences could be the use the conversion phenomenon as a fruitful platform through which it could be possible to monitor notorious historical phenomena such as state building, nationhood, gender identity, economy, or even architecture. During these days, we receive a lot of such important inputs. In this way, historian will call to social scientists never to look at conversion as a merely closet autarkic phenomenon, but as an interacting one with other spheres of human existence. This is, of course, a very respectable, but still I believe it is a limited disciplinarian task. If instead we speak about then and now as implying a chronological evolving phenomenon, the question will be how to integrate so many unvariegated cultural contexts in which occurred conversions into broader historical periodizations. This is a task which almost inevitably entails oversimplification and inaccuracies. Having a huge march of error and being always debatable, I still believe that this exercise of a macro-historical history of conversion could be meaningful also to those historians who privilege detail over big panoramic tableau. I will end my talk by briefly mentioning three possible macro-historical paradigmatic shifts of many regarding religious conversion. The first paradigmatic shift has to do with what we call today the Abrahamic religions. It departs from what the German Egyptologist Jan Assmann called mosaic difference, which led to the emergence of religious monotheistic religions, which are by definition more intolerant regarding the inclusion of parallel religious systems than the polytheistic religions through the advancement of an idea of a true God as against false deities. Following Assmann, with the emergence of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, religion conversion implies either spiritual upgrading or, in the contrary case, a regression. Conversion becomes, to paraphrase Ammianus, if not necessarily to join a simplex religion, certainly to a religio absoluta, which calls to total commitment. A second complementary paradigmatic shift is what the German philosopher Karl Jaspers called the axial age in religion and philosophy, which appeared in different contexts such as Persia, India, Judea, China, and the Greco-Roman world from the 8th to the 3rd century BCE by advancing the idea of consciousness. Conversion now turns to be an ultimate expression of the self. The axial age, however, was for Jaspers limited in time and achievement, being, I quote, an interregnum between two ages of great empire, end of quote. Thus, spontaneous conversion quickly became the Janus phase of coercive religious conversion, especially after a political imperial application of the Mosaic difference in the name of a mandatory human salvation. A third paradigmatic shift has mainly to do with modern and contemporary Western societies, although it was and it's still disseminated around the world through imperialism, mission, capitalism, and globalization. This has to do with what the Canadian philosopher Charles Taylor identified as a secular age after Max Weber's association of modern times with secularization. Religion might now have assumed a marginal place in the public and intellectual culture of our time as a consequence of a modern sense of disenchantment of the world. However, secularism does not necessarily mean the death of God for many modern men and women. Quite the contrary, precisely to avoid the trap of a disenchanted, estranged existence, religion conversion aimed to re-enchant the world from within. In this sense, one of the paradigmatic shifts provoked by secularism is less the shift between different religions and more of living non-belief to religion as part of a quest for authentic meaning. This shift from God to the believer also explains the contemporary combination of diverse spiritual heritage altogether. The search of a more authentic and mysterious meaning of life, however, also entails the danger of leaving aside initial autonomous quest of meaning for the submission to closer religious systems which appear more authentic for being less rational. In other words, modern secularization brings to the conversion process, on the one hand, a more heroic role of finding altruistically the divine spark in a disenchanted, God-hidden world, but at the same time, modern conversion is particularly threatened by the spell of an uncritical reincantation of the world through religious fundamentalism. Contemporary globalization and multiculturalism just exacerbates both ways of experience today religious transformation, the sublime and the fanatical. My aim today was not to forcibly convert you to Assmann's, Jasper's, of Weber Taylor's paradigms, but that just to spread the word of the salvific benefits of a structural way of conceiving history like a patient, tolerant missionary historian. Thank you for coming here and being here.
Thank you, Dov, for what should have been the opening remarks of the conference. Our conversation will hopefully continue. I want to thank everyone for participating and wish all of you who are embarking on your travels a safe trip home. It's another opportunity for us, I think, all of us, to give a round of applause to Batel. For all they have done to make us stay and to make the conference work as well as it did. There was a hell of a lot going on behind the scenes which we didn't see, while we were sitting here discussing our topics. So thank you all for coming. We will be in touch about publication because we do want to publish the proceedings of this conference. And for those of you who are not going home, not leaving this evening, well, we'll speak private. We don't have to do this. Just come and see me again in a moment. Thank you.